It's Lent, and I'm following the Church of England's book, #Live Lent. There's daily readings and reflections and a short prayer at the end. It's to get you thinking about God and your story related to God and God's story related to us. God's story related to us is found in what we call the Bible. The whole of the Bible records God's relationship with people through the Hebrew folk. And in the Old Testament, he spoke to people through selected, usually men like Isaiah, Jeremiah, Noah, Abraham, Moses, Jacob, Jonah, and others. And if the people listened to God, they were guided and blessed, and they had good standing in the nations around them. But when people took no notice of God and went their own ways and felt that they could do things without God's blessing, they lost their way and ended up in quite a mess. And at one time, the nation seemed to be dispersed around the Middle East there, gone. But the New Testament, which starts from Matthew's Gospel, is God's story through the coming of Jesus, his son. Jesus came and is come to show God's love for the Hebrew people and for others who are not Hebrews. And through the Gospels we see this and what Jesus did and how he spoke to people. And then after the Gospels, there's the Acts of the Apostles and various letters which help us to understand how the Gospel moved through those early Christians around there where they lived. In the Live Lent book, it suggests that for this week, because it's done in daily portions and each week has a little theme to it, that we should read one of the Gospels, out of the first three, the Gospels, to refresh ourselves about Jesus, his life, his teaching, the miracles, and his relationship with people and with his Father. And quite often we think we know the Gospels if we've been regular church goers and Bible readers and everything. So, why take on to read one? But sometimes as you take on to read something that you may be very familiar with, but read it again, it sometimes puts the whole thing in a different perspective, in an order, or to refresh our thoughts and our memories and make you realise what's there and things that we've tussled with in the past. We may not always like what we see and we may be challenged by it. And in these times we need to ask God for his guidance and help us not just to understand the meaning, but also to work out what it means for us to do and to do something about it. So I've decided that I'm going to read Matthew's Gospel and using the promptings of the Live Lent book to think more fully through the parables. The parables were stories that Jesus told to make a point. And the parable for Tuesday, the 23rd of February, is about an important man who prepared a feast for his people. And the people knew that he was going to prepare this feast for them someday, but he couldn't put a time on it. But he did set this feast up. And eventually everything was ready. And he sent his servants out to go and ask the guests to come. Well, those that had been originally invited, a lot of them said, "Oh, I'm sorry, I'm busy, I can't manage it. No, I'm not going to be able to make it," and made very many excuses. Well, when the servants went back to talk to the master was furious, and he said, go out and find anybody to come in. And they went back out again, and he brought in the people from all over the place. The people that were sitting by the waysides, those that looked a bit crumpled, those that were blind or lame, those that were unhappy. He drew them all into this mighty feast. And in this parable, you just get the feeling, the hint that the master, the important man, is God, and the chosen people are the Jews. And the people who've been invited as the guests may have been the religious side of it, may not, may have been just the whole nation. But when the time for God to come calling came, they did not recognize from where it came, and they made their excuses and made their life elsewhere. But when this message came out to other people who were a bit less lovely than the original guests, they took it on, and they came with rejoicing into the area of feasts and enjoyed what was there. And this is a suggestion that sometimes we have to look at ourselves, who has been God followers, as to speak, over the years, and to see whether we're really listening to what God's saying and whether we're responding to what he's asking us to do, so that we remain the guests at his feast. And not only that, that we can share this feast with other people, whoever they are, and it doesn't matter who they are, that we can share with them and bring them in to enjoy the feast and receive that love and healing for their bodies and souls that Jesus offers, that God offers through Jesus. And I pray that we are all part of that feast, and we listen and act for the good of all through Jesus Christ.